All right, I'll call the meeting to order.
The meeting has been posted according to open meeting laws.
Roll call.
President Seeger.
Here.
Trustee Alexander.
Here.
Trustee Nugent.
Here.
Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Renici. Here. Trustee Smalley.
Here.
Trustee Wisniewski.
All right, just to let everybody know, we are still publishing our meetings via Zoom. We do not have any citizen participation that happens via Zoom anymore, but the only way for those that are attending via Zoom to watch the meetings can hear us is if we use the mics. So let's make sure that every time we talk, we use the mics. With that being said, citizen participation per Village Resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the Village Board during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject can be anything, whether on the agenda or not. The Village Board should not engage in discussion regarding comments because it was not part of a public notice agenda. Upon completion of the citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in a public hearing or specifically allowed by a majority vote of the Village Board due to involvement in an agenda item. With that being said, is there anybody here in attendance that would like to speak during citizen participation? We're all looking at you, John. All right, with nobody else being in attendance, I will close citizen participation and move on to consent agenda. One motion and a second will approve all of the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have one question in the last item.
Okay. Go ahead.
I know that it was talking about fund balance, and the only, where the heck, oh, here it is. The only question I did have is that, are we going to be keeping that fund balance at about 35%? Or is that our goal?
As far as I know, yes, that is our goal.
That's all
policy.
Just needed to know. Thank you.
It's policy.
Well, there was talk about some changes that may have to be made, and that's why I was asking.
Jason, I just had a quick question on the mobile home park. Do we get all the cross connection taken care of this year?
Yep, actually, they were completed last year, so they're all good.
All right, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, miscellaneous business. Consideration of refunding arcade license fees due to withdrawal of application.
I'll make a motion to approve the refund.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of change order for grading work in East Troy Business Park South. Jason or Tim?
Actually, Tim, if you want to come up and just give an overview of this.
So as part of the bidding for the business park, when we took it out to bid, we actually included a bit more grading, more common excavation than was needed to get the portion of work done that we originally scoped. Due to some plan changes going back and forth between, do we grade the full lot, do we not? That's where that discrepancy came in. The other change is some DNR issues on the pond, which got a little bit larger. Changes the cost a little bit. We're working with the contractor on that. But it brought kind of what I'm thinking was an opportunity to complete the grading on the entire business park for some additional funds, but well within the contingency that we had laid out with Eileen on our borrowing side. So the option really is, do we stick with what the original plan showed and leave probably about a 10-acre piece yet to grade at a later date, or do you try to take care of that now within the contract? Ends up the common excavation, if we grade the entire site, is very, very close to what was bid. There's some additional restoration and some other items that have it overall as a cost increase. However, it's going to really be the most cost-effective way to complete the grading. bringing somebody into grading later is gonna be a little bit of a expected higher cost, given A, the bidding environment, B, the smaller size project that would be. So it does lay it out, as kind of an opportunity to do that. Before working with the contractor, we wanted to get, village board input on that. We're happy to work it out either way with the contractor, but thought this might be a really good opportunity to finish the grading portion of it. Wouldn't be changing the roadway at all, wouldn't be changing the utilities at all, knowing that, we wanted to have the flexibility for whatever's gonna go in there in the future. Had a conversation with, Joe from Bryan Builders, and the way we have it, laid out potentially would work with one of the users they're looking at, for a portion of the storage they're looking at outside for future expansion as well, on the southwest corner, where it says in the option 2 area, but the southwest side of that. So from that standpoint, it may work really well from what they're looking at today. So looking for some input on that. It's our recommendation that we do get the grading done, so that really it leaves roadway and utilities as the only potential add to the business park, depending on how the final lot configuration comes out. As we know, that's still up in the air. One of the things that potentially is, one of the potential users that they're talking to right now would take that entire, I guess we'll call it the west side, south of the cul-de-sac, as a potential lot. And so it would work really well if we actually had that graded and ready for them just to hand over. So wanted to bring that and get some input.
Do they want it all the way into option 2 as well, all the way across?
That would be an open lot for somebody else.
But it would look a lot nicer and probably be more attractive than as a parcel if it was all graded now.
Correct. Yeah, it'd be usable. Whereas otherwise we'd have a future project here just for a grading, which we could do, but this would have the pad all more closer to pad ready. I mean, one of the things that is in that southwest corner, potentially, if somebody wants to put a big building up there, they would still need to put a big retaining wall in, just because of the amount of drop that's going to be associated with that. But it gives them that flexibility to do that. We're not advocating that retaining wall now. We've priced it out for Eileen, and it comes in between $500,000 and $600,000. So that's a future item, if needed.
And you think if we did this in the future, it'd be more than the 115?
Definitely. Yeah, we bid this at a very good time to bid it, and also it fits well within the scope of the contract. So, yeah, to bring somebody else in here later would be a big challenge, depending on what gets built. You know, if we build to the cul-de-sac and those lots get built, then we have to leave an access easement in place to get back there. We got to make sure the site balances still, because that's a big part of it, is making sure we're not hauling off or hauling in soils. So, yeah, to do it now would be the much easier, more cost-effective way to do it.
Now, we talked originally about putting the cul-de-sac up closer to option 2, but then did we not decide to wait until there was development to do that?
Correct. And that's still big, with some of the things that I'm hearing, that's still a maybe thing, because depending on what user goes there, it may be that we don't have to bring that out there to get full development. You know, if a big user's on the west side of the southwest side, they may take that whole 15 acres, which then just leaves you with 20 or 30 acres remaining, and depending on the size user, that may be a really nice parcel for somebody.
And the road configuration is not changing with this proposal. Stays the same. The other thing I'd like to add is we did borrow for this project, and we also borrowed the contingency, which was a pretty hefty contingency, so, which would cover this and leave additional funds yet, so.
So, yeah, it's like 26% of the contingency we'd be using, so you guys are comfortable with that?
Yes. I hate to jinx it, but a project like, I hope we won't find any oil tanks or anything out in the middle of this field. It shouldn't be a lot of reason for change orders, but you never know.
Tim, I have to ask this question because we had this problem in the other park. And are we concerned about any water, underground water, soils that maybe, you know what we had problems like, Jason, last time? And, I mean, it cost us a heck of a lot of money, 'cause they had to move a heck of a lot of dirt. I'm not saying, I just wanted to know if everything is looking good, because otherwise that contingency will just burn up real fast.
Yeah, and so as part of that, the contractors are required to get it to the specifications we want. In addition, we have a geotechnical firm, Terracon, who is, contracted with the village to do some of the observation out there, making sure, especially, I'm calling them pads 1 and 2, it's in option 1, kind of at the north end, where we have some users that are already doing some planning there. But as they get that pad ready, they're gonna be doing some testing to make sure that that happens, to specification, so that the village is able just to turn that over. So yeah, some of that's been taken into account. The other thing I could say is we've, done our adequate research on the boring. So Terracon was involved on the front end, looking at the soils, making sure that, to the extent possible with borings, we know what we've got there.
Do you need a motion?
I think we should have a motion.
I'll
To
make a
approve it.
motion to proceed with the, change in scope and do the grading for the whole parcel, so option 1 and option 2.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, consideration of purchase of wheel loader. Jason?
Okay, so we did talk about this back in January, and you guys had authorized me to move forward with it. I'm just back to talk about finances, and how to pay for the unit. Originally, we had talked about doing the 5-year lease to own. We did lock in a rate, I think, of 2.89%. And then at the time, we talked about, and for the newer trustees, we're consolidating a couple of pieces of equipment down into one. So we had, 2 tractors to sell, one tractor loader backhoe and 1 farm tractor. And we were offered on trade, at the time, $46,000 for the pair. And what we did is we put them on online auction, and we did a little better. We picked up about another $41,000 for both pieces. So what I'm proposing now is because we had the extra money in the used equipment value, is that we just use some surplus funds and just pay this piece of equipment off rather than financing it. I did talk with Eileen on a couple of accounts that we have within fund balance. We've got, from sale of previous, surplus DPW equipment, we've got $23,710. And then we've got another $42,000 in future vehicle purchases, which leaves us of a balance of just under $4,000, which we could use some unassigned fund balance for to cover that purchase if that's what you guys see fit.
Do you have to purchase, anything yet for the snow blower attachments?
So we also talked about that. We do still need to purchase a snow blower, which is an attachment for this loader. I've been looking for a used one, hoping to find one, and I have so far not had success with that. The closer we get to fall/winter, the more I'm gonna get concerned about that. So I'd like to continue that search, but it has not, hasn't turned up yet.
Well, I guess that's my question, as far as the funds for that, where are we gonna get those?
So we did budget in this budget cycle for the same approach to purchase that. That's probably gonna be $100,000 plus piece of equipment, to finance it the same way over the 5 years. And I did budget in this budget cycle, which you guys authorized me up to, I think it's $28,000, if I could find a used one, to purchase that. But if not, we may need to look towards the new piece.
So then essentially we'd pay off the loader with the extra funds that you're asking for, but then we would finance the snow blower attachment.
Correct, if we've gotta go the route of a new one.
Make a motion to proceed with the loader purchase.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of driveway replacement for 3063 Clayton Avenue. Jason.
Sorry. Oh, so as part of the Clayton Bellevue project, we had a driveway, actually, Mr. Morath's driveway. That the bottom portion of the driveway was replaced with the project due to an elevation change in the curb. And when the driveway was put back in, the concrete joints were not tooled in, they were saw cut, which is simply a method to save money. So the driveway does not aesthetically match what was existing. So the board had directed me to come back with a priced contract, talk with the contractor on the road construction project, which I did. They were not interested in any additional work. So I looked to a local contractor and got the price that's being presented to you tonight. This has not been budgeted for, so it would need to come from surplus capital as well. But the contractor can complete this yet before fall.
Well, I'll move to replace, the driveway for $45.30.
Second.
Any discussion?
Jason, I think I read somewhere where we're gonna be changing our methods of
A change was already made to the construction specification so that this doesn't happen again for bidding documents.
then, and if it does happen, then the contractor is responsible for the replacement.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, there's a first and a second, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider additional sidewalk area at 2919 Main Street. Jason.
Okay, so this is another one that we have previously talked about during the discussions for the square project and design. During that time, the 2919 property was going through redevelopment. This is the property to the west of East Troy Brewery. And the developer would like to kind of recreate the feel of the square area, and currently behind the back of the curb and the front of the sidewalk, there's a grass terrace. And he actually would like that removed and it to be all concrete, again, to just kind of have the same feel as what's going on in the square and be part of the square. So the board had said, get some pricing. I did go to the contractor. We looked actually at the contract, and there's already provisions for that, and it would have been $2,600. And the property, or the developer, had said, hey, I can do it for cheaper than that, and that's where the $1,800 price came in. That's for 6-inch concrete. And if we look at that the same as we're looking at the rest of the concrete on the square, anything new that's not currently sidewalk, the village is paying for. Everything that's existing walk is going to be a 50-50 split. So I thought that was the fairest way to look at that. But it's really up to you guys if you want to see, if you're willing to move forward with that.
Hey, Jason, that's the same exact look that they have across the street from that property as well, isn't that right?
That is correct. On the north side of the road there's no grass. It's concrete from building to curb.
So it'd be pretty consistent with what we've got in the area, much less already matching the square itself.
That's correct.
And you said that's the same spec as what we're doing on the square?
Correct. It's not the decorative look or it's just plain concrete, but it's the 6-inch thick concrete that we're doing elsewhere.
Are we would we be signing the agreement with whoever the developer has and paying, or are we trying to reimburse the developer?
We would reimburse the developer.
And if it doesn't meet
it would have to meet our specification.
I mean, I think as long as that's a clause in the contract or somewhere like that if it doesn't meet specification, I just don't, I agree with your proposal. I just wasn't sure if we were contracting with them and we didn't like it, then we just deal with it and take it out.
Yeah, no, understood. I would certainly, I guess, make that clear up front that it needs to meet our specification, and, that's the reason for the 6-inch thick for snow removal equipment to be on there, so.
Don't we typically vet any of our contractors that would do work like that?
So, on projects over $25,000, so.
Is it somebody we know?
I don't know that. The number was given to me by the developer, Mr. McCone. So I don't know who he intends to use for it.
He used to own his own concrete business, so,
Oh, okay. Maybe he's intending to do it himself, I'm not sure.
or he might, contract it out to the people that he sold it off to. I don't know personally, but I know he had a business at one point in time.
Okay.
He did snow removal too, so if you ever need that.
Here's my card.
I'll make a motion to proceed, or I guess to authorize Jason to proceed with the developer's, proposal, and we reimburse them subject to, we get the, clauses in the agreement that, they've gotta meet our specifications.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2021-17, approving 2020 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, CMAR.
Exciting reading.
I'm guessing an A means very good.
Just like school, yes, it does.
I love the grade point average, part of it.
It doesn't mean affluent, or no, that's effluent.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 2021-17.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
I have a question. I'm sorry. I gotta ask.
But how did he, score perfect on it?
No.
So what happened in August if we only had 3.3514, never mind.
Well, actually, it's about the first page with the flow and loading. And I looked at the numbers and I did percentages from 1 to 12, but there's absolutely no correlation between the two of them. And I'm just curious, I don't need a big explanation. I'm just curious, is it normal that there is never any correlation?
So I am gonna have Tom Pluis reach out to you and talk to you about that, because he brought that to my attention, and I don't remember what the answer is, so I apologize.
No problem.
But he does know it.
Thank you.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Reports, verbal update on Main Street Square Project, Church Street. Jason?
So really nothing major to report. Hopefully this week some of the sidewalk gaps start filling back in. We start to see some curb go back in. There was an issue between the subs and the general, but that's now resolved. Lawn restoration continues on the east end of the project. That's looking nice. They're going to be going from Main Street, and they're gonna start tomorrow afternoon, water main on Church Street, so they'll start marching up Church Street, which will then make Main Street somewhat more passable, as Church Street will begin to close.
That generally speaking, Church Street's been the way to get to 20, so you don't have to go down Main Street.
Right.
And so now Main Street is gonna be accessible?
Well, technically, Main Street is still closed. I mean, it's open to through traffic, but it is a construction zone. People should only be accessing it if they need to.
Right.
Everyone else should be utilizing the detour up on Highway 20 to Town Line.
Okay.
But that's really all the other thing I wanted to add, you're gonna see some pink lines on the square. They've already started to show up, and those are gonna be the new islands and traffic patterns. I would encourage you, if you're around the square, to maybe take a look at those and see if it makes sense to you. Some of the pork chops will be laid out, and just like I say, the new traffic patterns, so.
If we're walking up around the square, right?
If you need to go to the square, you can go to the square. Just not through the square to go through town.
Tim?
Obviously, we want people to visit the square and the local businesses.
Tim, I know there was discussion way in the past when, the drives were laid out, those little triangles, for like entry and exit off on Church Street and Highway G, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I know that there was concern about some of the widths of the traffics, and those have been adjusted.
Yeah, those were adjusted throughout design. And in fact, we did take a look here last week, and most of them were painted out. Took a walk through with Jason and some of my team, including doing things such as parking my truck to see how that would feel once that was in, at where the new stop line is, making sure that there was adequate room, so it felt like, hey, that there still is adequate room. So we took a look, and everything seems to make a lot of sense to us, but they'll be out there, so if anybody wants to take a look, of course, take a look.
Thanks, Jason. And Tim?
Do we know anything else? You emailed me, I don't know if you heard anything else about scaffolding.
I actually called John Valanche today to ask him, and he had said to me that the owner had some concerns and was reviewing the proposal, and the county has since asked for a waiver from the property owner of the cobblestone, just in case anything happens to the property during construction, that the county's not liable for anything. Our attorney is in that conversation as well. So that's where it's currently at. John did tell me today that construction is still on track, and as soon as they're given the go-ahead, they're gonna be setting scaffolding.
All right, so draft planning commission minutes from 6:14. Any questions? Any questions for 40, not from 40?
It looks like we're addressing the multifamily zoning issue.
Yeah, we're making a concerted effort to try to make it less murky. Is that a word I could use? Well, yeah, make it a little more definitive in the definition.
How about, emergency services minutes from 5:26 or 5:11?
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You hear that beeping? That's a truck backing up.
I have an opportunity for you.
How about library minutes from 5:11? Any questions? Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Boom, before 7.
Wow.